sitting out there. He's wanting to go for a ride. Somebody go out there and turn that motor off before he hurts himself. Well, that little church back there was really a great preacher. He was the community junker. In other words, if you had any junk around your house, he would come and take it away for you. His name was John, and a really good human being. As in all things, he has passed on, and he was one of them kind of preachers that come to see you. He didn't come to see you just to eat chicken. He come to visit, talk about life and how we can make life better for each one. Each and every one of us. Not about his life. He never talked much about his life. I'm going to show you where he lived. John lived right here in this tan looking house, and he built that house up there with the American flag. That's his son that lives there now. And I said in the beginning, he was a good man, because he was a kind of a man that gave back to the community. He'd haul all your trash off, like you had an old rear end or a refrigerator or an old dishwasher or something like that. He'd come and get it and haul it away. I gave him a TV one time. I asked him, would you be interested in this TV? And he said, how much you want for it? I said, I'm going to give it to you. He took it home and he used it till he died. It was a good TV. Look right here. This is called Campbell Field. And this is where I learned to fly an airplane. This is where I took my very first flight right here. I was 14 years old. I talked about it in one of my other videos about coming down here and flying at Campbell Field. That's where I flew from, right there. I took this right here today so I could point out that airfield. Somebody told me one time in one of my videos, they said, you sure move that camera around a lot. Well, it's connected to my head. It's on the chin. And when you're riding, you kind of have to look right and look left and look over there and look up there and look back there. And there's a lot of looking that goes into. There goes my Mustang. That's what I was driving recently. It had the 5.0 Coyote engine in it, and I used to like to make it howl. I put 151,000 on that Mustang, and it was a good one. It is a absolutely gorgeous day. Great day for traveling. I thought I'd talk a little bit about traveling. I was born in Alabama, and my destiny was to be a coal miner, maybe drive a truck, work in the steel mill, do some of that stuff, normal stuff. Well, the set of circumstances took place. I had a brother that get killed in the Army, and he was going to be buried in a national cemetery out in California because he enlisted in California. So I took a Greyhound bus trip out to Bull Run, California. And that was certainly a life-changing situation there. My mother had remarried, and she was married to an Alabama country boy. One of them big old boys, big old good ones, you know. He was a big one. I mean, he thought himself of being really tough, but he was weakened by an accident he had in the borax mines. He broke his back. I ended up, they told me, said, we're going to go back to Alabama. And you're going to have to need to drive because he can't drive, he can't sit up that long. That was on Wednesday before my 16th birthday, which was on Saturday. So he had a 53 GMC pickup truck with 4 on the floor. He said, I'm going to try my best to teach you to drive, but he said, I'm not going to have the patience with you a lot. You're going to have to learn quick. So he had to teach me how to use the clutch. And it was a jerky affair, you know. I didn't know how to let out on the clutch. You know, we tried over and over and over, and it was really a hard thing to do. But they had already called ahead and got an appointment in Lancaster, California for me to take my driver's test. So we go down, and I drove all the way down to Lancaster. That's from Bull Run across Edwards Air Force Base, go across Muroc there, and into Lancaster. Well, I had a lot of driving difficulty. I'd only been driving from Wednesday to Saturday morning in my whole entire life. So he realized that I was going to have a difficult time with the shifting. So we walked around. We drove over to the Packard dealership in Lancaster, California. And he wanted a big Packard. He loved big cars. He wanted one of them Packard Clippers, one of them had the big V8 engine in it and all that stuff. And of course, I'm going to be doing the driving. They just came out with a new Golden Hawk. It just came out. It was like a midsummer sale. And the guy said, he asked me my opinion, her husband did, my stepdad, about this Golden Hawk thing they were talking about. Well, I had already read up on it because I was already becoming a car nut, even though I didn't know how to drive. And I told him I thought that V8 powered Golden Hawk would just be the ticket. And even then, in 1956, it was about $3,400, $3,400, brand new. With it had a 289 V8 engine in it. Not, it's like the Ford Mustang 289. And they had one that had a 352 with a blower on it, but we got the one with the 289 in it. we get home, he told me, he said, now this is on Saturday. He said, we're going to leave in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're driving to Winfield, Alabama. He didn't say, are you going to be up for it, or would you like to participate in that ride, or... No, he said, we're going. And I didn't have no doubt that we were going to be going. So, by daylight, we was on the road. Wasn't long. We're cruising down the old highway. I remember my first big city I came to was down there at Phoenix, Arizona. And oh my God, I never drove in traffic before. Boron don't have any traffic. But I managed to get it done, you know. I worked my way through the traffic. And then we had the long trip across Texas. I mean, New Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. Oh my gosh, that was a long trip. Well, we got back there to Alabama, and I was ready to put my feet in the creek. They had the creek down there. I believe it's called the New River, just like the one over there in East Alabama. And so anyhow, while we was there, he cut a deal with a guy to lease 166 acres. It was called sharecropping. He provided the land and some equipment, and he paid for the seeds and stuff. You grew everything, did all the labor. I think it was like a 20-80 deal. You got 20% of the profit, he got 80%. Well, we went back to California, drove back, got out there, and he sold that new Golden Hawk and got another car that could pull a trailer that was more suitable for pulling a trailer. We loaded all the stuff up, and I traveled back across the United States towing that trailer. Needless to say, I'd never towed a trailer before either, and that was a new experience. We got back to Winfield, and all of my family by this time had come together. My brothers and sisters, my mother, my new stepdad. And we're starting a new adventure from being coal mining kids to being farmer kids. And we learned about what mules were. We knew there was mules in the mines, but we didn't involve ourselves with those mules. We had to plow with mules, me and my brother Robert. He went down and bought another mule. We had a horse also. We had what's called a Mustang pony that was high-spirited, and my brother started running a guana spreader. Guana is bat guana. It's a fertilizer. And my brother was little. He's 4 years younger than me. But old Robert ran the guana spreader. We planted, well, first we had to clear the land. We planted 100 acres of cotton. Everything was up. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful crop. As far as we knew, the owner of the land was really pleased with the cotton. And then a big black car showed up with government license plates. And they had aerial photos of our cotton fields. And the first thing he asked for call the owner of the land, Mr. Barnes, and say, we need a copy of the cotton allotment. He said, I'll be right out there. He came out, and he was only allotted 4 acres of cotton, not 100 acres. He thought he could get away with it because nobody ever checked them rural areas, but they was cracking down on them illegal farmers. Yeah, they cracked down on us. It was so easy to crack down on us because we're newbies and we filed all the paperwork to do all the stuff, and so they had all the new stuff filed there in the county courthouse. So we had to start plowing up cotton, and we had all that land there, and I was a student that loved about the environment. I was really interested in environment and ecology and all kinds of stuff, and there was a wonderful old gentleman. His name was George Washington Carver, an African black. He was a black American. I don't like that term Afro-American. I'm not offended by it, but if you've been living for 300 years on a piece of land, you can skip all. I don't call myself Italian American. I don't call my Irish American. I don't call myself Indian American. Anyhow, we had that to contend with, planting crops that would be allowed. So we asked him about how many peanuts could we grow, and the guy said you could grow 60 acres of peanuts. So we planted 60 acres of peanuts. But I used George Washington Carver's technique. We only bought, when we went over and bought our seeds, me and my brother, and maybe my sisters, we picked out all the 4 peas in a pod. And over in the sacks where the peanuts were, it took us hours, but we got the peanuts we needed, 4 peas to the pod. He did an extensive study on 4 peas to the pod. The 4 peas to the pod, if you keep planting, eventually you'll have your majority of the peas that grows in the ground, the peanuts, would be 4. So, anyhow, oh my God, what a crop. Our land had been covered in kudzu, so it was really, kudzu is a vine that was introduced into Alabama to stop erosion. The ground was rich, and my God, the peanuts. My brother Robert, he had a cart that he could pull with the mules, and he'd pile that cart full of peanut vines, and it would be higher than your head, and he'd set up in the middle of that pile of peanuts, and he'd come down off the hill at breakneck speeds. When he got to the bottom, he had to turn to go up another hill. So he got down there and he made that quick turn, and that mule turned really sharp to go up that hill, but that wagon loaded full of peanuts was so heavy that it actually sucked him backwards and made the mule go down on his butt, was dragging his butt in the gravel. I mean, I'm not laughing at the poor mule, but Robert learned about making counter. You got to keep in mind, he was only like 16 or 14. He was pretty young. Oh yeah, I was 16, so he'd be like 12. He was young boy. But back in a long time ago, boys at the age of 9 would go into the coal mines. They could handle mules in the mines and stuff like that. So we got our peanut harvest done there. But unfortunately, my mother's selection of men did not meet our criteria of what we thought a human being should be like. So we, and my mother saw that as well. She decided it was time to move on, and she did. I did too. It was time for me to go visit with Uncle Sam. And our lives changed once again, but traveling, I travel so many times across the United States. I think I made something like 25 or 30 crossings of the United States. I just love traveling. As you know, after I retired from Boeing, I took a job as a truck driver, and that helped me, the over-the-road thing helped me with the need for traveling. I put in 6 years over the road, and I think I have mentioned in the past, we had given to us the endorsement for combination. We switched from endorsement for combination over to the CDL, or some of the truck drivers call them CDLs, yeah, apostrophe S, CDLs. Anyhow, we had a pretty good experience on different trucks. I drove on the West Coast for many years before I ever got to Boeing. After 6 years, we had the logbook thing, and it was before they went to the E-log. The E-log had not got involved at this point, but you had to run, even though I was a legit guy, I wanted to be legit, I tried to stay legit, you had to run multiple books. So you could get from one destination to another, because on the way the rules were, until I got into team running. Once I got me a team, I signed up, I got me a lady that joined me and her, we teamed up across the nation. And then there's no rules on that. I mean, anybody can meet the 5 on and 5 off, and we never had to run the multiple books and stuff. But, the rules got so tough that it made it impossible to travel across the United States without having an encounter with the authorities. Now, I'm not against, I love American judicial system, and I do support the men in blue. But when you get some dumbass in a chicken coop that's going to make your life miserable, like he finds a 1/4 inch cut in your strap and sets you down for 2 hours, his penalty of whatever he makes up in his mind. Just maybe you was caught in a traffic thing, and you could go to off-duty line on your logbook, but the traffic jam might be for 3-4 hours because a bad wreck or something like that. Instead of being a human being over there to let you go ahead and get on up to the Flying J where you could actually find a place to sleep. In Odessa, Missouri, that low-life piece of crap, I was 2 hours out of my book, and I explained to him, if I get up on I-29, I'm going to be able to get in me a place to sleep. I-29 North, I was going to Seattle, Washington. I had a load of steel on my flatbed, and anyhow, that low-lifer made me sit there in 98-degree weather. That low-lifer piece of crap there in Odessa, Missouri, made me sit there for 8 hours because he was supposed to be off the road for 10. And anyhow, I had to sit there in the sun, 98 degrees, for 8 hours in the burning down sun. He wouldn't let me go up on 29 north at the Flying J and rest, get my book caught up, everything. Just a low lifer, somebody, a piece of crap that had never had a feeling of authority in his life, and now they put him in a chicken coop, and he's going to show you what authority is all about. You run across those a-holes all across America. They call them DOT people. I've been treated so abused. I've been so abused in Pennsylvania. A low-lifer was hiding up in the woods, and I come along there, and I had a load tarp down. He pulls me over and wants to know what I'm hauling. I asked him, "What is your authority to know what I'm hauling?" He said, "I'm the DOT, man." I didn't know if that guy's going to stop or not, but I guess he is. Anyhow, enough of the ranting. We're going to stop here. As an old man, you have to take a certain amount of medicine to keep alive. And the only way I can tell my stories is being alive. So if that works out for you, it works out good for me. Everybody and I'm sorry about ranting and raving, but if you're a truck driver, you'll understand what I mean. Bye-bye, I love you.